Vice President Kamala Harris, her first major TV interview since becoming the Democratic presidential nominee. She appeared alongside her running mate, Governor Tim Walz. The vice president defended her evolving positions on a whole range of issues, and she responded to attacks from former President Donald Trump. Ed O'Keefe is here. He's in studio. He's going to break it down for us. Ed, what do we learn? Good morning.
Well, Tony, good to see you. Look, this interview comes as voters are still trying to learn more about Harris in this compressed time frame. So she explained some of her shifting policy positions. While out on the campaign trail, Trump, increasingly losing support among women, also announced a new plan of his own.
My values have not changed.
In her first TV interview since becoming the Democratic presidential nominee, Vice President Harris clarified why her position on some issues has shifted since she first ran for president in 2019. Initially, she opposed fracking, a key issue in the battleground state of Pennsylvania, then changed her stance.
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
On immigration, in 2019, she supported decriminalizing the southern border. Now,
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally.
And she batted away questions about former President Donald Trump's statement last month that she isn't black.
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
For the first time, she detailed her fateful phone call with President Biden when he announced he was exiting the race.
I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He was very clear that he was going to support me.
Harris's running mate, Tim Walz, also faced questions about his 24 years in the National Guard and past statements suggesting he'd used weapons of war, even though he never saw combat.
We were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar's not always correct.
Harris has a sizable lead among women voters, which is what made this Trump announcement on Thursday so notable.
Under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment.
That's a change from his past positions. And in an interview, he hinted he favors a Florida ballot measure to expand access to abortion services that currently are mostly banned after the first 6 weeks of a pregnancy.
I think the 6 week is too short. It has to be more time.
The Trump campaign later clarified he's yet to determine how he'd vote. Trump was also asked about social media videos his campaign posted of his visit earlier this week to Arlington National Cemetery.
I don't know who did it, and it could have been them. It could have been the parents. It could have been somebody.
It was your campaign's TikTok, though, that put out the video.
I really don't know anything about it.
In his statement, the Army said a Trump aide abruptly pushed aside a cemetery employee who tried to enforce rules that clearly prohibit political activities on cemetery grounds. Harris hasn't commented on the incident.
Now, when you campaign, you have to compartmentalize on the votes that you're trying to get. Now, when it comes to women, we showed the numbers, Kamala versus Trump. But what do you make of former President Trump's position on IVF and how that might impact the election?
Well, look at that growing gender gap. 56% support among women for Harris, 44% for Trump. It was much closer before.
Yeah.
He's essentially saying to them, don't leave me. I will do what you want. We realize that this has become a concern for women across the country, for families across the country. So by now saying essentially a Republican president would support paying for all this, that's taking essentially a Democratic position. We've seen them both head to the middle to try to win back folks. But the question on abortion and that Florida abortion ballot measure, whether or not to go beyond 6 weeks, as is currently the law, for him to suggest he'd support that could potentially suppress his support among an element of his base. Socially conservative, evangelical Christian, anti-abortion voters. There was a lot of chatter last night on social media. Wait a second. Is he abandoning this on us, or us on this?
Yeah.
Our folks aren't going to turn
Can't
out
waffle
in
too
Georgia,
much
in North Carolina, and other places, and it could cost him the election.
And for a lot of women, it's not about his positions, per se. It's about his tone when he talks about women.
Right.
Yeah, they're a key
Which is
voting
why
bloc.
Harris not taking the bait on that question last night was so interesting. She said, let's move on.
Women, key voting block there. Ed O'Keefe,
Absolutely.
thank you so much.